How to love. I will share with you 12 principles of love that I've learned over the last 20 plus years of study, learning from some of the best psychologists and spiritual teachers in the world. This is something I work on every single day. And I will teach you 6 mindsets and 6 habits. This is very actionable. And this is possibly the most important video, most important podcast I've ever recorded. And for many of you, it will be. And learning to do this and do my best every day to get better at this is possibly the most important thing I can do in my life. Principle number 1: forgive. Start with a clean slate. And this is just as much for you to be able to love fully as it is for the other person. Because when we forgive, now we can fully open up our heart. We can open up our mind. There's no barrier between us and the other person that we're trying to love. Forgiveness is one of the most important things we can ever do. For us, just as much for them. It's equally mutually beneficial when we can learn to forgive and move forward. Number 2, the principle that everyone is fighting a battle I know nothing about. And Wendy Mass, that's a quote from Wendy Mass. There's others who have said this. Everyone is fighting a battle I know nothing about. That gives us instant compassion and empathy towards another person. Everyone is fighting a battle. Maybe it's a health battle. Maybe it's a financial battle. They're having money problems. Maybe it's a problem with their career. Maybe it's a relationship battle they're fighting. Maybe it's a battle with mental health or the happiness. Everyone's fighting a battle we know nothing about. Many people are fighting multiple battles. Okay, so I think about that, and it puts me in an instant state of love and compassion. Number 3, everyone is doing the best they can. Everyone you see in front of you right now is doing the best they can with the knowledge they have, the life experience they have, the energy they have. Here's a quote from Jack Canfield, author of one of my all-time favorite books on success and happiness and love and performance, The Success Principles. And Jack tells us, you never want to beat yourself up about the past. I always tell people you did the best you could with the awareness, skills, knowledge, and tools you had at the time. Everybody does. It's also all the people that upset you. They are doing the best they can with the awareness, skills, knowledge, and tools they have. So we need to have compassion for them and ourselves. And I love how Jack says, start with us. We need to have that compassion for ourselves. We look at the past, we were doing the best we could with the knowledge that we had at the time and where we were at in our life. Now, there's a concept called Hanlon's razor, and Shane Parrish talks about this. He's a great author, and he's the host of the Knowledge Project podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. And Shane gives us a definition of Hanlon's razor, which is, he says, Hanlon's razor is a useful mental model, which can be best summarized as never attribute to malice, which can be adequately explained by neglect. Applying Hanlon's razor in our day-to-day lives allows us to better develop relationships, become less judgmental, and improves rationality. Hanlon's razor allows us to give people the benefit of the doubt and to have more empathy. In this way, the value of Hanlon's razor is pronounced in relationships and business matters. Again, so when we use these tools like Hanlon's razor, and that everyone's fighting a battle they know nothing about, and that everyone's doing the best they can, this just instantly puts down a barrier and allows us to make these human connections with people that we may have not had before because we were living in such a state of judgment and anger or resentment. Okay, so these take down the walls. Principle number 4, be grateful. Simply be grateful for people. Be grateful for someone who held the door for you. Be grateful for the love you receive from a family member, the friendship you receive from a friend. Be grateful. Principle number 5, and I'm going to give you two questions here in principle number 5 and number 6. Principle number 5 is a question: how am I that? I learned this from Dr. Jim Loehr, one of the top performance psychologists and experts in the world on high performance. And he poses a question. He says, how am I that? Only that which we cannot accept within ourselves do we find impossible to live with in others. Think for a moment of someone you actively dislike. What quality in that person do you find most objectionable? Now ask yourself, how am I that? Now you can ask yourself, how am I that now? And I also like to ask, how have I been that way in the past? When I'm upset with someone, say that somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm going to ask myself, well, how am I that? Maybe I've done that before myself by accident or whatever the case may be. How am I that? Maybe someone is rude to me. I'm going to ask myself, well, how have I been rude to someone in the past? Okay, I've done this myself. So that instantly, again, puts us in a state of forgiveness and understanding and connection, and allows us to fully love, to live with love. Question number 6: what would love do? I learned this from Paul Chek, legendary health and wellness expert and practitioner. Paul says, if you ask the question, what would love do now, and you answer it honestly, you'll get the same answer your soul would give you. It's one of the most beautiful questions we can ever ask ourselves. What would love do? And that will always point us in the right direction. Okay, now let's talk about 6 habits. Okay, we talked about 6 mindsets, 6 habits in terms of principles. Here's habit number 1 is be kind. Very simple, be kind. The great mentalist from the United Kingdom, Darren Brown, says, forget self-help, be kind. Right? The best thing we can do to help ourselves is be kind. We know this. It releases all kinds of great chemicals in our brain when we're kind and we serve others. So if anything, do it for yourself. And guess what? When you're doing it for yourself and you're serving others, being kind to others, right? Everybody wins. It's a win-win situation. So how do you be kind? Uh, you know, uh, Very simple. Meet someone wherever they're at in terms of the kindness they need at the moment, whatever that may be. Maybe a kind word, maybe a kind deed. All right, be kind. Principle number 8, be useful. Arnold Schwarzenegger recently wrote a biography. It's a great personal development book as well. One of the best I've ever read, biographies and personal development books. And the title of it is Be Useful. Arnold's father taught him that. Be useful. Very simple. How do we do this? I think there's 2 key ways. Number 1 is to reduce the unnecessary stress of others. And number 2 is lend a helping hand or a positive word, right? That'd be an action. Lend a helping hand or a positive word. And a mindset would be just, do everything you can to reduce the unnecessary stress of others. That's how you can be most useful. Number 9, say, I believe in you. One of the greatest things that we can do for others is to increase their self-esteem, their self-confidence, their self-image. So say those words as much as you can every day, any chance you get, I believe in you. Here's a thought from 3-time Super Bowl champion head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, Bill Walsh, one of the greatest leaders of all time. And he says, I believe in you is the most important thing you can tell someone. Principle number 10, catch people doing things right. What do I mean? I mean, give them sincere, specific praise when you see them doing something great. Here's another quote from Bill Walsh. He says, reinforce the positives and the rest will take care of itself. So do everything you can to catch people doing things right. Too often in our world, we're catching people doing things wrong, or others are catching people doing things wrong. Be that light in the world who relentlessly catches people doing things right. Principle number 11, be direct and honest. Be honest with people about where they stand, about where they can improve, or maybe where they're going off course, right? That is love. It's often referred to as tough love. Some people think tough love is the best love. And there's a good argument for that. right? I want to give you 12 tools though instead of just one, right? But one of the tools is tough love, be direct and honest. Kevin Kelly, who wrote the great book Excellent Advice for Living, says your growth as a mature human being is measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations you are willing to have. Here's a quote from Keith Cunningham, a legendary business strategist. He says the reason we hesitate to have the hard conversations is because we don't care enough. If you truly cared enough, you would say what needs to be said. After all, how else are they going to improve and maximize their potential? Me remind you that nothing can change until the unsaid is spoken. Okay, and here now let me give you tool number 12, principle number 12, be fully present and an expert listener. A good friend and mentor of mine, Gannon Baker, one of the top basketball skills trainers in the world, trained Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Maya Moore. Gannon says, your presence is your present. It's a gift. Your presence, being fully present to the moment, is a gift to others. Here's a quote from Dr. Stephen R. Covey from the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And here's a quote from Will Guidara. He was co-owner of 11 Madison Park. At the time, it was the #1 restaurant in the world. Wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, incredible book on love and service. I often describe being present as caring so much about what you're doing that you stop caring about everything you need to do next. Here's a bonus thought from Dr. Michael Gervais as we talk about love. Okay, our job, he says, our job is to love others and not care what they think of us. Our job is to love others and not care what they think of us. So that ties all this together. Just go out there and love to the highest level. Practice these 12 principles. Okay. And don't worry about what people think of you and receiving love back. Just go out and do it. But what I find is the more you give, the more you get. Now, it's one of those incredible resources. The more we give away, the more we get back. And I find that the people who receive the most love from the world, when I see them loved and supported, they're the ones who are giving the most love back. They're doing these 12 things, these 6 habits, 6 mindsets, 12 principles in total. So my challenge to you is to identify which one of these in terms of mindset and which one of these in terms of habit you want to work on the most. Okay. And my challenge to you is to really practice these for the next 30, 60, 90 days. Really try to master love. It'll be one of the best things you can ever do in your life. If you found this video, this podcast useful, please like, subscribe, and please share it with one person who you think could find it useful as well. As always, I wish you an elevated life of happiness, success, positive impact, and love.